Shame is sneaky. It doesn't scream like anxiety or rage. It whispers. Things like, you're not good enough, or shit like, you just don't belong. And that whisper, honey, that's Tamas, pulling you into the dark. Welcome back to The Mirror and the Mat. I am Javi Vason, your favorite yoga therapist, and we're continuing our conversation on the gunas and emotions. Now, we've been talking about the gunas for a while, and they are those energetic qualities that influence everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything, including and not limited to your emotions. And when we talk about shame, that shows up as tamas. Tamas is the guna of heaviness, inertia, and internal collapse. So let's talk about tamas or shame in the body. This can show up as things like a heavy chest, collapsed posture, avoidance, isolation, even hiding. It's that feeling that you don't deserve to move forward. Now, rajas is shame's reaction. This shows up as overcompensation, people-pleasing and perfectionism, and defensiveness in trying to prove that you're worthy. And we don't have to do that. Now, sattva, that is the healing shift. That's where we'll find things like self-compassion, honesty without judgment, and getting into a space where we feel the emotion without actually identifying with it. Now, when I was deep in shame about my identity, my past, or even how I showed up in the world in relationships, I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be seen. I thought that I had to become better before I deserved love, peace, even rest. But see, yoga taught me something different. Because you can't heal shame by hiding it. It's not gonna work. You meet it through stillness and through truth. Now, this can show up in non-monogamy by internalized messaging, shame, especially when it's not widely accepted by the rest of the world. This can show up in yoga spaces where you feel like too much or not enough. We're not even going to get started on microaggressions and people in bigger bodies or look like they can't do things, because yoga teachers be tripping too. But that's another story. And then it can show up as perfectionism that leads to burnout or just overall overfunctioning. Now, I want you to know this. You don't have to get rid of shame. I'll say that again. You don't have to get rid of shame. You just need to stop believing that is true, because it's some bullshit, usually. So how do we deal with the fallout? Tamas, the collapse. Okay, well, we can do this by supported back bends, heart openers, opening up the heart space and the chest. We can do this with gentle movement, gentle music, just a little something to stir the system up. Now, how do we deal with rajas? The reaction. We do this with grounded yoga flows. Asana, slow and gentle grounded movement. Linking breath to movement is also really good. In pranayama, you could do box breathing or nadi shodhana. And then we have sattva, the shift. And now you can do this with meditation and journaling. Practice placing one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart, and saying something like, I deserve to be seen and still be whole. Now, the truth is that shame can only really truly survive in silence. So the moment that you meet it with presence and breath, with care, that's the moment you start to remember. You were never broken. You were just buried under a lot of weight. Now, stay tuned. We'll give you a pocket practice to support you when shame shows up. All right, shame says to hide. Yoga says you're already whole. Here's how to meet shame without letting it define you. Sit or lie down. Place one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Ask yourself, where is shame showing up in my body right now? Notice any collapse, tension, or urge to hide or numb. Say silently, this is shame, and I'm allowed to be here even with this feeling. Step 2 is to feel. Inhale gently through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, and repeat for 3 to 5 rounds with the affirmation, I am not my mistakes. I'm not my fear. Step 3, regulate. This is where you can come into supported heart opener, using a block or a bolster under the upper back, arms wide. Let the chest rise. Let the breath deepen. Close with the mantra, I am allowed to be seen and still be whole. Shame loses power when we meet it with presence. Remember that you can come back here anytime you forget who you are. Until next time, my friends.